Oh, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and folks gathered here and at home and around their TV sets. I'd like to bring the Guilford Selectboard meeting of September 13th to order. Welcome all, and I'd like to recognize the public. Hello, Jen. And the rules of procedure are here in the town administrator's office. The rules of procedure govern how the public and the select board interact with each other, and the basic premise of that interaction is civility and way to be called upon. Are there any changes to the agenda order?
I have none.
All right, and the minutes, I presume that folks have read the minutes. Do I have a motion to accept them, or are there changes?
I shall so move.
Oh, thank you. I have a motion to accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any discussion? All right, I shall take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zon?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Richard? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Highway, where's Dan?
He had a personal obligation
Oh.
tonight and was not able to make it. I spoke with Dan and a couple of the road crew members this morning. And in short, they've been doing their usual late summer, early fall work, which has primarily consisted of replacing culverts, doing stone line ditching, some grading, and roadside mowing. Thankfully, they've only had a few minor repairs of recent, and so overall, the equipment is in good condition.
Great. And could you update us a little bit on the garage siding, very briefly?
Sure.
I know that I couldn't get there was it last Monday or something? Wednesday.
Yes. So last week we had a mandatory site visit for any contractor interested in bidding on the garage siding project. I had communication from 3 contractors saying that they were going to show up. We ended up only having 2. But 2 is better than 1 or 0.
Mm-hmm.
They were both very enthusiastic, seemed very knowledgeable with their questions. We had to put out a minor addendum to the RFP just for clarification based on half a dozen questions that the 2 contractors asked, and they both agreed on the questions were legitimate, so we provided that clarification for them the same day. Deadline for questions on the project is this Wednesday, and deadline to submit proposals is next Wednesday.
Great. Thank
So
you, Peter.
I have a question.
Yes.
So are we required to have a third proposal?
We, per the town purchasing policy, it's preferred to have 3.
I see.
We need to have 2, unless the select board makes an exception. If we have 2, you don't need to make an exception. We can just review them and judge them on their merits and make a decision.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Peter. Okay, on to new business. BDC annual update. Thank you for your communications, and if you could be brief and concise, we'd appreciate it, and I'm sure that you would too.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Jen Stromston. I'm the Director of Programs at BDCC. We come every year to every town to ask for support for Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies, SEVEDS, and that municipal funding is used to launch and run programs and projects. Don't worry, I'm not going to read all of this. It's just I remember specific things to Guilford. Last year we had 18 communities fund us. That was an all-time high. That's pretty exciting. BDCC is the Regional Development Corporation. We are your regional agency. SEVEDS is something that other RDCs don't have, which is its own sort of a nonprofit that is really dedicated to doing sort of more far-reaching work, more strategic work, strategy-driven. SEVEDS is what creates the Regional Strategic Plan, the Economic Plan, which we call the SEDS. There's a million acronyms. But really the point is that that 5-year plan is what kind of does research and identifies strategic goals. And so, for instance, some of our goals are around population, that we have, our population has been relatively flat, although it grew in the last census. That is in some ways neither here nor there. But the reality is that we have been seeing changes demographically that have led to some of us are getting older, maybe not all of us, but it also means there are fewer people in the workforce, there are fewer kids in the schools, And so that's one of the kinds of things that we focus on. We have various programs that are meant to sort of address that. So you've heard about many of them over the years. I encourage you to check out our website. We have a fabulous new YP director, Young Professionals Director, and he's put together a 7-month calendar so you can really look ahead and see all the young professionals things that are going on. We have an expanded small business team. We knew going into COVID that there wasn't enough help for small businesses. We did a lot of relief work. When I come to town meeting and give sort of an impact report, and we'll put something in writing in for the town report, we'll give you kind of specifics on the Guilford businesses that received help from us, for instance, on relief. But it's been really clear to us that there wasn't enough small business services. And so we've gone out and found funding to expand that team. So we have 3 people now who are working on small businesses. RT is still with us, for instance, and he tends to work on kind of growth stage companies, but also succession. So he's worked with a couple Guilford-owned businesses that have been changing hands, which is really exciting because it's really great to see a business not close and see it go into the hands of a new person. We have Iad, who joined our team a few months ago, and he focuses on lending, and we've added some new lending products. One of the things that's really exciting is we're about to launch a loan product that is really for folks who don't have credit. So it's great for unbanked or people who have poor credit, people who typically can't get commercial lending. So it really makes it so that almost any kind of entrepreneur can borrow from us. So that's kind of an exciting new product. And we're also partnering with one of the local banks, which has some comparable products. So we're really focused on expanding who can get help, who can get financing, who can get assistance. Relating to this, one of the big things we've been investing in, and you've probably heard about this in the news, has been being able to welcome immigration. And a lot of things have come together so that we are looking at, I won't tell you all of the long stories, but you can read all the press releases if you want to see the nitty-gritty of it, but we'll be welcoming immigrants, we'll be welcoming refugees to the Brattleboro area beginning really soon. So there's a national agency that we've partnered with. It's one of the State Department kind of, bona fide agencies. It's
These are Afghanistan?
most likely, yes. And so this is like breaking news every single day. And so they'll be coming to the Brattleboro region. They can really resettle within 100 miles of a field office. And that field office, they've hired a new director. You'll see an announcement about that soon. He'll start next week. And then we'll be sort of, ribbon cutting on that pretty soon. So that's a lot that's going on. And people ask sort of what is our role in that? And it's really just been that we've invested in the capacity to get that happening. We are not going to be the people who are doing the field work with newcomers to the region, but we have been sort of going out there to figure out the mechanics and find the organizations and make the partnerships, and then we'll kind of step back and ultimately be involved in the workforce side of that. But right now we're conveners, we're helping them fundraise, we're involved in a bunch of different levels. So that's fun and exciting and complicated work that you'll all be hearing a lot more about. And then there's ongoing relief work. We've been sort of walking and chewing gum throughout COVID, trying to keep our programs happening virtually, trying to keep, trainings, grant writing trainings, and keep the summit going and whatever it is that we do, and also do relief work. BDCC has, because we have more capacity, we have done the CDBG sole proprietor program for half of the state. And that I know that at least 2 Guilford businesses have benefited from that directly. There'll be another round of that in the fall. We're just waiting on a bunch of specifics, but by November there should be like another round of relief that we'll be administering. But what's kind of fun is it'll be done in the style of Restart Vermont, which was, we like that framework better, which is like we get to sort of give grants for technical assistance. People get to choose how they want to spend it, but it was just a little bit less of a cumbersome, not as horrible an application is what I'm trying to say. So much easier program to access and really geared to helping folks just pivot and recover, not so many restrictions. So those are some highlights. We'll be petitioning this year. We're doing some by mail, past folks have signed, and some in person. We don't necessarily come back to you. Well, we'd love to always come back to you. We'd love to see you as often as you'll have us, but we'll have the annual report finished in a few weeks. I'm really just waiting on photos. I hardly have most of it done, but we'll make sure you'll have copies of that. And I'm doing a new thing this year. We've always come with like a little bit of town level data, but town level data is so disappointing. You know, it's just really hard to get interesting stuff. So what we're doing instead this year is more of like a regional data report that has some of your town level data. It'll have your new census data. It'll have some employment stuff that's kind of at town level. But I think it'll be more interesting, and it's, you know, it's a weird time. People are asking a lot of questions like what's happening with COVID and the economy, and we're not really trying to answer them. We're just trying to give as much context as we can. So you'll get something it's about 30 pages long, but it's a lot of pictures. So, no, I'm sorry. That'll be coming to you in about 3 weeks when I have sat down and just formatted it so it's not so ugly. It's, you know, like that. So, but I appreciate any questions that you have about the economy, because that really, you know, what are you thinking about? That informs what we try to go out and find. We can't always get the answers, but I like to know what people are thinking, and I've been getting some, you know, fun questions about what's happening with the housing market or what's happening with unemployment. So whatever you ask, it tells us what we should be out there looking for and trying to answer. And I think that's about it. That's my super fast run through.
Okay, well, thank you. And I know that you're going to be, you're going to petition and to get on to the town warning
Yes.
and request $6,363.
Yes, sir.
Based on a head count of 2,000 plus residents of Guilford.
Right, which
That
seems to have
seems
changed by
changing.
one by the census, but we're gonna look at
Oh,
this.
interesting.
Yes, right.
So good luck with the
Yeah,
petition.
thank you.
And does anybody have any questions for
Well,
Jen?
I'm just wondering whether the website covers, like, in terms of the unbanked people, for instance, or the
Yeah.
people without credit. Does the website cover details about how these people might come to CEVEDS and?
Yeah, it's a great question. We just found out about a week ago that we had this new product. And so we will not just put it on the website, we'll do real press and we'll do real outreach. One of the nice things about our new business team is that RT is, you know, sort of the longstanding person who's been running our business programs. Iyad is dedicated to lending and technical assistance, and he has a fabulous background in the private sector and is also just lovely, and our newest staffer. But Gabriel works both on community facilities but also on outreach for business programs, and really his job is to figure out how to get it out there and find people. So I think, you know, we will put it on the website, but that's not good enough. It's really, you know, his job to work with. He works with a lot of different organizations to make sure we're really reaching people who might not otherwise find, you know, these resources. I mean, we all spent a lot of time during COVID. You know, you would see the headlines. We're sort of reading the research on how badly relief programs were reaching like minority entrepreneurs, what was happening with women, you know, leaving the workplace. So we're extremely focused on that. And that's really a lot of Gabriel's job, is to sort of overcome the barriers to people like finding us and finding that help. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
Well, I have lots, but I might just be contacting, who
I
would
would
be a
love
good
it.
person
Let's
to
just contact me and then we'll talk
Okay.
about it. We can bring Gabriel into the conversation. So,
Okay.
you know, I could talk all day.
Yes,
So,
I know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great
Bye.
evening. Bye.
You're doing great things.
Thank you. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
hard, but it's fun.
Okay, Mr. Errors and Omissions, Peter.
Yes, so this often happens most years in the evaluation of the many properties in town. The lister's office occasionally makes a minor mistake. So the Vermont Electric Power Company evaluation was incorrect in the 2021 grand list. And the lister's office was informed of that. There was a difference of $190,892. So that has been corrected, and the lister's office just needs the select board to confirm this and approve it, and we,
Confirm the correction.
That's correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion to confirm the correction?
I'll make a motion.
Thank
to
you,
confirm the
Michael.
correction.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Oh, Rusty seconded. Okay, is there any discussion? I'll take the roll then. Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Hi.
Richard? Aye. That carries. Thank you very much. Lucy and Abijah Prince, plaque unveiling. There's going to be an unveiling of the plaque on Tuesday on October 19th at 11 a.m. At the Welcome Center. And they're looking for a master or mistress of ceremonies. And I was asked to do it, but I wondered if you wanted to do that, Miranda.
I wonder if there's a person of color that we could find who might be interested in doing it.
They actually wanted a select board member.
Oh,
So
To be-
the two options, just to be the MC of the event, their first initial thought was either the chair or the vice chair. So that's why Richard made
okay.
the comment he did.
Well, I mean,
so.
I suppose that Richard and I could, discuss which one of us it's more doable for.
Sure. I brought it to Richard's attention because they asked me about it, because I'm part of the planning committee for that event that day. And I didn't know if any other select board members had any preference as to who they would like to see.
No, I mean, my availability is only limited by my daughter's health.
Sure, of course.
So I
Yeah, and I'm
have to.
glad to do it.
Uh-huh.
So,
It's a half an hour event.
Oh, a half an hour? Oh, I can do it.
okay, good. So Miranda's down for doing that.
Okay,
Uh,
October 19th. You
at
know what
11
day of
a.m.
the week it is?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So Miranda, you and I will be in touch
Oh,
about
sure.
that. And
Okay, that's fine.
so
Okay, now on to the BCTV annual meeting. Peter, what's with that?
Yep, so I received communication from Core Trowbridge, and they are inviting town officials and select board and school board members to their annual meeting. So it is on Wednesday, September the 22nd from 6 to 7 p.m., being held virtually via Zoom. We've had this invitation in the past, however, none of our select board members have ever attended. So I wanted to put it forward to you folks, and so I can get back to Core with the RSVP.
Do any of our select board members,
What is the date?
September 22nd, 6 to 7 p.m. on Zoom?
Oh,
I
on Zoom?
can go.
You can
If
go,
it's, if
Zon?
it's virtual, I could plan to go.
Oh, thank you, Zon. Anyone else?
I will if I can.
Okay, so we have two possibilities.
So
I mean,
the-
one for sure and one possible.
Okay?
Excellent. Moving right along then. ARPA funding distribution and scheduling. This is something that we really need to talk about, and I have an agenda with this that I'm going to, so I'm going to be talking for a little bit. One of the things that, as you know, that the select board is responsible for distributing, and it's only the select board who is responsible for delivering the funding, which is, the total is, I don't have it right in front of me. It's over $600,000 over 2 years. It's about 620,000 actually. And so we need to decide amongst ourselves whether we think that we want to, do something on our own that we come up with for the town, a major public work, for instance, or, I mean, this is just some of the stuff that I've been thinking about, or do we want to spread the money out in a more wider distribution and have organizations and individuals in our town apply for this money. And as you know, the major premise of the funding that the feds have put out is, and it makes sense, is that the individual, the organization, or the business has been impacted by COVID, because this is, the American Rescue Plan Act, and what it's rescuing America from is the impact of the deleteriousness of the COVID virus. So I just thought I'd like to have a discussion about that, and I can tell you what my own feeling is, and then I'd also like to talk about, I sent out to you a schedule for how we work on this. I sent you the text that was drafted to put on the website, and also probably to have in a press release and an article in the Gazette. And I also sent you the application form that Peter and I developed for an individual, for a business, or an organization to submit an application for these funds. So does any of the select board members, or do we each I'll tell you what my thought is. I think that we should distribute the money amongst organizations and individuals and businesses in our town and not choose a public work that would have to be impacted, that would have to be rectifying, for instance, or making better something, an event or a thing that was impacted by COVID. Whereas I think that if we open it up to the town's application, residents, individuals, organizations, and businesses, that's more equitable, it seems to me. It's more democratic in the sense that it's not the select board choosing a project and giving the money to it. So that's where I stand on it, but I'm only one of the select board members, so. But we need to make a decision. You agree with that, Rusty?
Yeah, and you'll see how many people actually apply for it.
Yeah.
And then you can go from there. We might be able to do a little bit of both.
Right. Good thought. Zahn, did you want to put your spoon in?
Yeah,
So to speak.
thank you. I agree totally with what you said and Rusty's point too. My thought is that there's no way that we as a select board member could anticipate what the real needs are in our community. And we need to hear from our community first, it strikes me, so that we get a sense of what that's all about. And in the end, we might be able to do something that's community-based that we would make the decisions about. But I'd prefer to hear from the community first.
Okay. Michael, do you have a thought about it?
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable. I mean, I came prepared with a short list of, different groups I thought might need help, but, hearing some consensus already, I'm not sure we're in a position to, or, it's kind of sounds like we're sort of feeling like we want to let the public weigh in and let them tell us.
Yes, and we have already heard from groups in town who are interested in funding, in ARPA funding, and seem to have an argument, so to speak, or a premise to base that funding on, which is related to the impact of COVID. So we've been hearing from organizations, and I've also heard now of a business that is probably, I can't say, but it would probably be applying. So you're in agreement with?
Yeah, yes, I am. Yeah.
And Miranda?
Well, one thing I was wondering was whether there was any great infrastructure need that the town had that could be somehow aligned with COVID needs that we don't know about yet. That, if this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to invest in, whether that might be important, but I don't have any knowledge of any such thing, and I'm not sure any of the road highway issues that, that they don't really have a specific COVID twist to them.
Well, we'll certainly ask Dan. I mean, this will, if Dan were here, we would explain, unless he already knows about the ARPA, about the act. But I mean, we'll certainly ask if there is something in the highway department, in the infrastructure of Guilford that was impacted by COVID, whether that's human resources or infrastructure. We'll ask Dan if there's something that's relevant.
Yeah, we certainly can do that. I think that's going to be the most difficult stretch for us to, not impossible, but I think that's going to be the most difficult area to find that fits within the federal regulations for the use of these funds.
Mm-hmm. Right, I thought that, but failing that, I agree with everybody that we ought to be receptive to what comes to us and also be thinking ourselves, as Michael has been, and I certainly have been, about worthy groups and maybe even individuals who might need it.
Good.
Can I throw out another public works? I mean,
Yes.
just, I don't want to get myself in trouble, and, I mean, you know, we've kind of agreed to let the public weigh in, but, I mean, I'm unsure if I should bring it up or not, but the DV fiber effort, I'm not even sure I'm condoning sending money their way, but I'm just curious, maybe from Zon's perspective, is there any discussion of that effort using these funds as a once-in-a-lifetime kind of?
So the way I would answer that is that there's a few things. There's a big lot of money that's coming through the federal government.
Oh,
for
elsewhere.
broadband.
Okay.
For that.
That doesn't mean to say that there will be enough, but
Yeah.
there will be a lot that will make many things possible. I think there's a lot of looking that needs to be done. I think one thing that, for me, another point I'd like to make that relates a little bit to DV fiber, but might also be looked at in a different way. I would like to at least have us keep our minds open to the idea that there likely will be some cross-town, multiple town efforts at using some of these dollars, and we need to probably stay open to the idea that there might be some requests for funding across, for instance, a particular sector. Like I come from the creative sector, so there might come a Windham County, sector-wide request from all town. I don't know. I'm just sort of making this up as I go along, but those kinds of requests might be there, and I'm not sure that I'm not sure that we would be able to describe that COVID related. There certainly were losses related to COVID that have to do with the lack of broadband. I'm not sure, I just don't know whether all the lines could be drawn and put together and who would be making applications and so forth like that. We're still a little ways out as far as Guilford's concerned. We have till 2024 to spend these dollars, as I understand.
That's correct.
And so there may be some flexibility down the road. I guess I might suggest that we not think of spending everything right away. We develop some tiering or something so that we can remain as flexible as possible so that we can answer questions like Michael's as they come along. And I could imagine that DV Fiber might in fact make a very strong request, again, cross towns, to really solve this broadband issue once and for all.
But I have to underline that there's a huge amount of money coming directly for broadband in Vermont. Like
Yeah, exactly.
an unbelievable amount, actually. So, but I mean, your point is well taken, and one of the four criteria is that there would be, groups and organizations and getting together to make a proposal, one proposal from a number of different entities.
Or even communities,
Yes,
so that we would be
right.
part of a
But
large
this money is for Guilford, and we
Yes.
need to keep that in mind.
Although it is, I don't mean to disagree with you, Richard, but as I understand it, it seems like we are able to pool resources
Yes.
among communities. So there are ways of addressing some larger issues
Yes.
if they were to show. DV Fiber is an example of that, but
Right.
maybe not the only one. So, yeah.
Yes, and I think that, I mean, just to footnote that, the obvious COVID impact on all of us about our current state of broadband is that all of us have had to rely so much more on it for our lifelines, and day in and day out, whether Guilford is deemed to be more adequate than other places, we're left unconnected at many times, and it would be nice to be able just to prime the pump to get this moving faster.
Right, and that's a very good example of COVID impact that you just said. So when we're thinking about that, for instance, if you're making a proposal to the Guilford Selectboard, you would want to be able to demonstrate that kind of impact, that because people are working more at home in our town, that they were impacted, and they're doing that because of the impact of COVID, and therefore the remediation, that would allow, that we would become eligible in that particular instance for ARPA dollars. Good example of impact, I would say. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else on, just in general conversation about that? That's good to know that, and we will have that in the minutes. The other thing that I would like to do is, we sent you a schedule that Peter and I developed, and we sent you an application, which I think is nifty. It's both online and it would be in hard copy in the town office. And we sent you the text that we'd like to put on the website, and I don't know if you've all had a chance to review it. The text for the website, thank you, Zon, who helped with that. It's basically, I just made an introduction to it, but it comes from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns.
Would you like to share any of those?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd love to see it on the screen.
Which one would you like to look at first?
Let's start with the text on the website, if you would, Peter, thank you.
Yep. I think this is.
Could I just say that, as Peter's putting that up, I read through it and it looks fine, the setup and everything. It did occur to me that depending on how we decide to spend the money or where we're directing it, which customers or which users we're speaking to, we might want to reorganize the questions or frame things up a little bit differently. Right now it felt a little, the questions are all good and everything, but they're a little generic and they might be a little more off-putting to some folks than they need to be.
Okay, would you like to take on the role of
Yeah,
okay.
I'd be happy to do that, depending on, let's wait and see how the discussion goes.
Okay.
What Peter, I don't know who set this up, I'm assuming it's you, Peter. It's very easy to reorganize and move things around in different ways, just helping people find their way through the information.
Right. I don't know if you noticed that I noticed something like that just this evening, and Peter fixed it. I mean, we changed it. It's further down and frequently asked questions. This premium pay business. So I changed it to say, to put up what types of positions are considered eligible workers for premium pay. And then we have the FAQs about the cap and how much you could get for that. So there are things like that. There may be other things, I didn't notice them, but I certainly noticed that one.
That's fine. That's fine. I think we may want to my thought was that we might want to have a few specific to Guilford questions about, just helping people understand if, the first question, am I eligible? Something like that.
Uh-huh.
Who is eligible? Not how can Guilford spend the money, but am I eligible as a user? That kind of thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you go to I thought we covered that in the, no, we didn't. Okay, that's good then.
I read through it today, and I think that it's a real improvement on what it could have been. You know what I mean? It's so easy for these things to be overwhelming, and as I read through it, I was at the top of my effort level in trying just to understand the answers. The questions are great. The answers necessarily are complicated, and I'm hoping that we can have I don't want to call it ARPA for dummies, but maybe ARPA and you would be, some kind of user-friendly title for our informational workshop, or maybe, I just think that organizations that have experience and sophistication will have no problem either navigating the questions or filling in your wonderful application. Peter, did you do that application?
Well, it was Richard and I did it together.
Yeah, no, I thought
He-
it was an excellent application.
So just, John, in regard to, I mean, don't we have the 4 criteria? Isn't that underneath isn't that the answer?
Yep.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I think Veranda makes a
Yeah.
really, here's the 4 criteria
Yeah.
right here.
right,
I think Veranda makes a really good point, but as Richard and I have talked about numerous times in the past couple of weeks, this is an extremely complex topic, and it's very difficult to distill this complex information
I get it.
into easier to understand language without losing really critical information. And so it's this really delicate balancing act.
right. And if you go to VLCT, there's just so much information because they're trying to explain it and explain it and explain it. So, maybe well, Zon, but I would like to get this done as speedily as possible because we have the funds for this year now.
And I can confirm, a week ago, because we just found out today, because Penny and I checked this afternoon, we have received our first county disbursement. So we now have received our first $15,000.
Right.
Dollars.
So one thing I was thinking of, just in terms of nitty gritty, we might want to not make those 4 bullets an answer to that question, but to put them up in the introduction and just say, these are the criteria for ARPA funding. I think that might make it much more explicit.
Good.
So that's one suggestion I would have. So why don't you take a look at it, Zon,
Well, if every select board member has thoughts,
yeah,
if they could email Richard and myself,
yes,
we could make those changes. So this page is on the town website, but it's currently only visible to select board members.
Yes, I noticed.
Once you approve it, then we can make it visible to the public.
So I would say, please get us today's Monday, by Wednesday, your comments, if you have comments. Yes, Zon?
I think, could we go ahead and approve it tonight? I mean, theoretically, everything's there. I think it's just a matter of tweaking it a little bit, and I don't know I just assume get it up. With any grant program I've ever been involved in, there's, not major changing going on, but there's tweaking all the time to
Right.
make things more and more serviceable and better understood by the public. And so I don't have a problem with, if we understand that the money's available and we want to get it out the door, I don't have a problem with approving this as going up.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Sure. I move that we approve, I guess it's this document, and the grant proposal document, the grant application document, for public viewing.
Do I
I'll
have
second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, I will take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zon?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Okay, that carries. Very good. We're being very efficient. I like it.
Okay.
Okay,
And I
so,
also,
Can I say one more thing?
sure, please.
And it's something I'd be glad to do with maybe some help from another select board member. I think because every town is addressing this issue by itself, essentially, and every town is trying to figure out how this all works. I do know that other communities are beginning to figure out how to talk to one another about making this go, what's being funded, what kinds of programs. It might be good for us to just start watching that kind of information as it passes by. And we can do that through the Regional Development Corporation, BDCC. They plan to develop some pages on their website that will begin to bring some of this information
good.
together. I think it will just help us.
Yes.
As we're
And they had a meeting just over a week ago about that specific topic. And so more information on how other communities are doing it should be coming soon.
Great. And we'll ask you, Peter, to keep your eye out
Of course.
for that news.
And at the fall conference for the Vermont Town Administrators and Managers, which is in October, one of the sessions that they're going to have is going to specifically be on this topic,
Great.
on how to communicate across community borders.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay, I had something
Yes.
else I wanted to say, which was that I think it would be great to figure out how to give support to some of the people and perhaps groups that don't have the kind of experience that some of our nonprofits have in applying for these funds. Oh, Zon, did you want to say something about that?
Well, go ahead, Brenda, but I have a response to that.
Oh, okay, well, I think I said what I had to say.
And I can add that there is, on the schedule, we have at least one public information meeting to help people get through it's a pretty easy proposal, actually.
Yeah, and I'll just say that I know again that BDCC is planning to do the same kind of thing across the entire Wyndham region. Virtually they'll be doing it. So I think we may not need to do the work as you're suggesting, Brenda, but we may need to point people to the places where that work is being taken care of, if that makes sense.
Well, I guess what I would be willing to take on is being a liaison to between people who might be wondering whether they could do this, who would be, let's say, contacting us and saying, can I do this? And you could refer them to me and I will aggregate the resources for them.
Okay.
And let them
I think
know.
I think that's sort of Peter's job.
Oh, okay.
To be interfacing with the public who has questions.
Yeah.
And I would say that if they need a kind of tutorial about how to process the proposal or the request, then Peter can say that you should consult with Miranda.
Well, if BDCC already has everything they need, then he can point them there. I
Okay.
just want to make sure that there's
But that is part of
adequate
what his job would be.
We also just need to be cautious because, Guilford has chosen to use an application process, which I think is good. So the select board will be reviewing those applications. So to prevent conflict of interest, I'm of the opinion that select board members should not be assisting Guilfordites or Guilford organizations
very good
in this
point.
process.
Oh, that's an excellent point. I
Uh,
withdraw
otherwise-
my offer.
So I appreciate the generous offer, but we need to make sure that we don't have any conflict
That's
of
right.
interest. And since you all sign a conflict of interest statement at the beginning of every select board year, we just need to be cognizant of that.
Very good, very important point. Thank you, Peter. Would you put up the schedule now?
I will.
The draft schedule?
Yeah, this might need some revising. Where is the schedule? Oh, let's just try this for the moment.
I printed it out and I don't know why.
Yeah, here.
But it was,
Here we go. Oh, no, that's not it. Oh, I don't have the schedule open.
I think the schedule's in the ARPA
Yep.
folder.
Just let me bring it over here. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Yeah, I can. Can you see it on your home screens? Okay.
No.
So we've already got through September 7th. And we have the money, which is wonderful.
Yep,
And we created the page for ARPA.
Yep.
And the SB is.
so you're ahead of schedule on this because tonight is actually the 13th, not
Right.
the 27th.
Yeah. So we're accelerating ourselves because we've already done that. Okay.
How are we getting the word out that people or entities?
Well, we're gonna get to where the public information meeting is. We're hoping that would be in early October. And we're gonna write an article in the Gazette as well. That should actually be in the schedule, I think.
That Gazette won't appear though till November.
Okay, yeah. So
We'll
we
need
should
to
get
have
it in
one more
there.
meeting at least after that.
Yeah.
Front Porch Forum, perhaps,
Uh-huh.
could be a place to highlight it.
The Gazette deadline is October 1st. But
Right.
Yeah, that's why I just put that in.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so
So
then,
the other thing that is, at least for this meeting tonight, that's of importance that Richard and I discussed is the select board really needs to decide when we're going to hold our public information meeting, just because of the warning timeline that we have prior to it. And so, per the discussion Richard and I had, we discussed the idea of the week of October 4th through 7th. But obviously we need input from other select board members.
right. I think that that's when we should have it, that's a month, the people, I mean, if we can get the word out, advertised that that's when the meeting would be, we're giving, people a month to get their schedules in order.
Well, it's less than a month,
Yeah.
the 4th through the 7th is about a month away.
I mean, we could make it later, but do I have any opinions about that? Does that seem like a good week for us?
I think I would, it strikes me when I think about grant proposal and grant support, helping people, there are two crowds that you need to be helping. One is the one that Brandon was talking about earlier, which is the people who may not even know what this is about. So like a broad informational meeting. And then there will be people that need specific help, or just have questions in a specific way. And I'm not sure that we might need to have two meetings.
Well, we were thinking of that, so, but do you think that, what if we chose Wednesday, October 6th? Do you think that is, are we rushing too much, or?
Not if it's just a general.
No, it's a general informational meeting, and then at that meeting, we could announce the second meeting, which would be for more specific, for people to come with us with their questions and comments, and very specific questions.
Well, you know that people will have questions that first meeting.
Yes.
And part of the reason that week was chosen was also because we do not have a select board meeting that week.
Right.
So you don't have to have too many obligations in 1 week.
Okay, so what time, if we did it on the 6th, what time?
I'm just looking at my thing won't recognize me. What time do you think is a good time?
Do you think 6:30?
Sure.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, October 6th, 6:30. And so we need to get that information out quickly. We should put it on the website, Front Porch Forum. Have Miranda talk about it in town. And tell your friends. How else can we get the word out?
Front Porch Forum, the town website.
Oh, we should have it in
What about the
a news clip in the
Reformer?
Reformer.
Yep.
You
It'll be posted, so because it's a public meeting of the select board, and because it's an informational meeting, it will be posted for a minimum of 10 days. It will go in the newspaper. It will be posted at least at 3 locations physically around town, as well as the town website, and the select board always asks for Front Porch Forum.
Good.
If you want anything in addition to that, please state now, but that's the minimum that I will do.
Yeah, I think that's pretty, I don't see what else we could do. We could put up, I know what, we could make some flyers and like at the Guilford Country Store.
Well, this will be posted there.
Okay, great.
That's what I meant by
Yeah.
physically posted.
Zahn, yes?
I would just recommend that we take the Gazette article out. There will be nothing we can say that would appear by November 9th, 3 days in advance of the deadline, or 5 days, that I don't think that would be very helpful.
No, but I thought it would just be, the article would be basically what the website is saying. It wouldn't be about the meeting so much as about just announcing that we have the ARPA funds and that we're trying to distribute them.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think that's probably fine. There's just a little bit of a slap in the face feel. If some people don't hear about it until then, they might feel really betrayed on November 9th to realize they only have 5 days to get something in. There's a way we need to think through that, I think.
Can we as individuals just reach out to different organizations and,
Well,
or is
sure,
that?
of course.
Yeah, you can tell them that, you know, that that all of this is on the website, for
Yeah.
instance.
I mean, regardless of the efforts that we put forth, we're unfortunately not going to be able to guarantee that every Guilfordite will be able to hear about this.
Of course not. But every Guilfordite does have the chance to hear about it through the Gazette, because every Guilfordite does get a copy of this newsletter.
But the application period is going from what?
October 12th to November 14th.
14th.
I mean, remember, this is a draft, this is open for discussion, so if you think that, Zon, for example, based on your comment just a moment ago, of people in town receiving the Gazette on roughly, you know, the November the 9th and only having 5 days till the application deadline, if you so wish, we can extend the application deadline till the end of November, or whatever the select board feels is appropriate
Why don't
for
we do
this.
that? Why don't we make it later?
I do agree that in my experience, nobody needs, no review board needs 3 weeks, or like here, it looks like, 3 weeks to review
Yeah.
applications.
It's just a draft that Richard and I put together, so it's nothing, I think Rusty has to
Okay,
say
so I'm just saying, and it's not a judgment, just saying,
Yep.
you know, we can do that, we can do that in a quicker time.
Okay,
This
so,
is a 2-year period, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
We'll have one meeting and people will hear then. I think eventually we'll get to everybody.
And this is just round one.
Definitely.
yeah,
Good point, Rusty. You know, we don't have to catch everybody the first time around.
right.
Okay, so
So, but we want to extend the submission period to what, December 15th or something?
December 1st would be okay.
Okay, let's do that.
And
So you
then
want
give us
December-
and then
So
give
it
us,
begins, we begin on 12 October and to December 1st. Good.
and then,
Okay, so then the select board will have a week to review it.
you know, I would think that should be okay if the truth of the matter is we won't really know because we don't have
We don't know how
experience,
many
but
we're going to get.
yeah, and we won't know until the deadline because people notoriously submit grant applications at the very last moment.
Right.
So we won't really know how many we're getting. But in any case, if we were to have a first reading and we each we divided by 5 and each read a number of them quickly, we could probably get, it wouldn't take us too long to figure it out.
Right.
We'll have to sit for some time. I don't know how that works in a public, do we have to sit in a public meeting and review
Yes.
these?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Well,
We have to
you have
review them in
to be a
public?
public meeting and you have to go into executive session because premature public knowledge of this information could put us at
Could
risk.
affect the outcome, you know?
Correct. So, but we would have to be a warned select board meeting in which you go into executive session to discuss the topic.
Oh, to discuss the topic of who to award the funding to or to review the proposals?
Well, if you want to review the proposals as a group, that's how you have
Oh,
to do
right,
it.
I understand. But we don't have to do that. Well, we should have,
Well, I don't know how you're gonna be able, you can't each take, say there's 15 applications, you can't each take 5 applications apiece.
no, we have to take all 15 and then come together and discuss.
That's why you have to have a meeting and go into
So
executive session.
could we have, I mean, just in terms of logistics, could we, 5 of us each of us could be like the lead reader on a certain number of grants, making notes on them, and then share those notes through you?
I mean, I have my personal opinions on doing it that way, but I don't know what the select board feels. I mean, it's your judgment call. I mean, my personal feeling is I think every select board member should review all grants.
I agree
I think
with
that that's true, but some people might be more familiar with certain grants than others too. I mean, depending on how many of them we get, this might be a simple issue,
I mean, we
but,
might get 3 applications, we might get 30, I don't know.
or we might get 50. And
I tend to doubt it, but,
I think it's gonna be more the 3 to 5 range.
Yeah, that's what I
oh,
was
really? Oh, okay, then it's.
Based on the feedback that Richard and I at least have been hearing thus far,
and the fact of the criterion of the impact of COVID.
Yep.
Okay,
So we'll all review them and we will come together, so we need to put that date in when we would come together, right?
Yeah, we could set that date at a future select board
Okay.
meeting. It doesn't have to be tonight, just FYI.
No, but it should be on the schedule. I'd like it to be on the schedule.
So are we using the Gazette to get the word out?
Yes.
yeah,
Because we extended the
we-
deadline.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, I've been wondering, is there any appetite for mass mailing where everyone, I mean, is that prohibitively expensive or?
well, we would have the money to do it if we wanted to.
I don't think that's necessary.
I don't either.
I mean, based on
I'm just-
previous, it would be about $1,800 to send a postcard to everyone in town.
Okay, that's kind of expensive.
I'd rather give that money to someone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And just as a friendly reminder, folks, at this exact time period, it is also budgeting season. So there are going to be other meetings that you have obligations
Yes.
to. So just as a friendly
so
reminder.
are there other, so we just have a few more dates to put in here. So we needed the date for when the select board would, maybe we could do it at a select board meeting. That's what we should do, so what?
Yeah.
So what's a good select board meeting to come to the review, when do they do? I'm having trouble seeing because my glasses are falling off my face.
Well, see, we said that the deadline for applications is the 1st of December.
Okay, so then it should be,
So there is, the 13th of December is a select board meeting in which we could go into executive session to
all right, let's put
discuss
that in there.
Could I,
13th.
thank you, I think that's a good plan. Could I also recommend that we put on the schedule that there's a compliance review between the December 1st and the 13th? If we're gonna make this schedule public in any way, it would be good for people to understand that there's gonna be review of the grant proposals for compliance. Because there might be some really simple technical issues that someone's missed that we need to take care of before we can actually apply.
Well, I would have thought that would be just part of the select board review of applications.
I would recommend, yeah, I hear you. It depends on the number. I guess I would recommend that somebody look at them for compliance, because that can sometimes be a whole separate set of issues that waste review panels' time when you try to figure out how then do you rate them if there's.
Well, we're not, right, I mean, we have to at some point talk about how we're rating, but we don't need to do that tonight. I mean, but that is a subject that we have to tackle. How we,
Okay.
how.
So it's in the, just so it's in the brain,
Yeah,
that's all.
okay,
Well, and I think that we need to publish our criteria.
Yes,
You know,
Absolutely.
the
a
way,
kind of rubric
Yeah.
and a user-friendly
Yeah.
rubric.
we will create a rubric.
So actually, that's a valid point in that if you tonight have opted to make that application public, we need to quickly put together that rubric, because people are gonna wonder, well, if I submit this application that is live, how is my need going to be assessed compared to others?
Zon, would you like to work on the rubric? I would
Yeah.
work on it with you.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess three of us can,
I'm
but
happy to do that, yeah.
Okay.
It's a tricky subject, and it really, that's a good point, Peter. It should be out there right away.
Yeah.
It should be with the grant application.
Yeah.
well, and it should be
So-
in very clear language.
Yes.
So
Does anybody mind
Miranda
if
and-
Zon and I do that?
It's on
I
the
don't
grid.
mind.
Okay.
Okay, so have we finished with the schedule? Now, applicant interviews, do you think that we should have applicant interviews? What's the select board's feeling about that?
I can say the advice from VLCT is if the select board is going to opt to make these funds available to town organizations, they strongly recommend doing applicant interviews.
To town organizations, now, do you mean what kind of?
So like this, through this application process we've been discussing this evening, to individuals, businesses, or organizations within Guilford, if that's how we're going to proceed with distributing these funds, VLCT strongly recommends doing applicant interviews.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to clarify in my own mind, you know, like a commission versus a private nonprofit, you know.
It's anybody who's applicant applying.
Right, okay.
So if VLCT recommends that, I would go with their recommendation. Does anybody agree with me? Or
I agree with
disagree? You do?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It is, I mean, we really need to, I don't disagree, but it does mean potentially, say we get 10 applicants and you wanted to give a minimum of 15 minutes to someone, it's several hours of work just to do that, And so we have to consider that.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to have applicant interviews by everybody on the select board?
Only the finalists.
Yeah, but even the finalists, why would they have to be interviewed by everybody?
Because it's your collective decision who,
Yeah, it's a decision of the
Okay.
select board.
I don't think that could be a subcommittee decision, in my opinion.
Okay,
It's not supposed to be.
Correct.
Okay, you know what I'd like to, so I'd like to keep the word draft on there, and we don't, do we want to put this on the website too? I think we should for transparency, but I'd like it to be called a draft, because that indicates that we may be changing it.
May I suggest that we, I think some of the items on this schedule are specific to the select board. And I would like to suggest that Richard and I simplify this schedule. So this will be the select board
Yes, and
version,
then we'll make one.
and
for
we'll
the
make
public.
one public.
okay, that's a
How does
good,
That's a
that
good
work?
idea, Peter. Yes, Don?
I guess now that we're talking about this, I'm gonna go back if people would be willing. I think it would be smart for us to put the questions, the frequently asked questions up on the website so that people can start to get familiar with this process, but not put the application up until we can put the timeline and the
criteria, I mean, rubric.
criterion to go along with it. And have those three things as a unit that go up later. Because, you know, no one's gonna write, I mean, there will be people in our community that will write a grant application on the very first day. But if we give people plenty of time to have the grant application in their hands, I don't think there's any reason now after all this discussion to put it up right now. Even though we just voted to do that, I think I would move to rescind that. That would be my view.
Okay, so is that a formal motion you're making, Don?
Go, Richard.
I was going to ask you what we need, so what is your suggestion for when it should be put up?
As soon as we have this criterion matrix in place.
Okay, well, that could be in a week's time then, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did have originally by September 27th as part of this timeline.
Yes.
I think we can do it at the next board meeting and it will be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so then, Zon is correct, somebody will need to make a motion to rescind the previous.
So, Zon, do you want to make that motion? Okay,
Peter, can I rescind part of it? So just rescind the part about the application.
It's your motion, so you can put out there what you wish.
All right, I would like to remove the part of my previous motion about the application being placed online now and hold that back until the calendar and the criterion are in place, and all three of those will go up at the same time then.
Do I have a second? Miranda seconds. Is there any further discussion? All right, I'll take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zon?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. Okay, that's good. Very good. So you and I will work furiously to get the rubric done.
Good.
Very good.
Maybe we should call it criteria rather than
Well,
rubric.
yeah, I'm just using that amongst ourselves. Okay, evaluation criteria is what it's usually called, actually. All right, I think we're set on that then, right? Is there anything further to say about the ARPA funding?
Then I'll stop the screen sharing here.
Okay, and let's move on to the Charter for Compassion.
Let's see, oh, I have something to say about it.
Okay,
Okay, I contacted Lisa from Lisa Sparrow, and I'm going to make a date with her to write an article for the Gazette about the Charter for Compassion in Guilford, you know, focusing on what we know about how the Charter of Compassion has been working with residents of Guilford.
great. So, and that, I think that's all we need to say about it. I read the Charter of Compassion, and I still believe in what I said, what I motioned last time, that it should be a town decision and not the select board decision. Reading it made me think that that's even more important, that it's the town that accepts this rather than the select board.
Well, I still disagree, but on the other hand, I will be happy to write an article about it that will, you know, present it in a more expansive form than
Thank you,
the
Miranda.
printout that we have.
So if we, in an informal discussion, if we do have a disagreement like this, we should probably have, at some point, it doesn't have to be tonight, but at some point, we should have a formal vote
We did,
as to whether or not to put it before the public.
yes.
It was
I thought we did last
I
time.
think
no, that's
that-
why it was deferred until this evening,
Oh,
is because everyone
Oh, hadn't had a chance
had
to
not
read
had
it.
a chance to fully read the
okay,
charter.
but I'd like to make a motion then that in regard to the Charter for Compassion, that the select board put it on the agenda of the town meeting for the town to accept it or reject its participation in the Charter for Compassion.
I'll second.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Rusty,
Aye.
Zahn,
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
No,
Richard? Aye, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, capital budget versus actual.
Okay, so we'll go back to screen sharing. So let me just bring this up real quick. ARPA, would be easy enough to switch over. All right, so at a previous meeting, in fact, the last meeting, the select board had wanted a discussion as far as the capital budget versus capital expenses to date. And so I put a draft of this together, and Richard and I discussed it. He had a couple of minor clarifications to make it hopefully easier to understand. We're not going to go into the specific details of this since this is already a lengthy meeting. I will just review. So for fiscal year 2021, for the highway equipment, we had budgeted $97,400. Select board spent $97,638. For the bridge category, we budgeted $0, we spent $0. For major culverts, so these are culverts that are 6 feet in diameter or larger, we had budgeted $100,000 and we spent $97,412.98. For town office repairs, maintenance, etc., we had improvements. We budgeted $0, spent $0. For work on the town garage, we had budgeted $13,000 and we spent $16,166. For the Historical Society, the select board had, we had budgeted $0, but the select board made a decision to fix the foundation and spent $12,800. For the library, we had budgeted $150,000 towards the renovation project, and we spent $8,000. Just moving on very quickly to our current fiscal year. Oh, I didn't have that frozen, but anyhow, for the highway equipment, we had budgeted $300,000. Thus far, we have spent $179.75. For the bridges, we have budgeted $200,000. We have not spent anything because the project will go out to bid this spring. So we will spend something from that, but we just don't know what the final will be. For major culverts, we have 0 budgeted and we have spent $0 thus far. Town office is similar, budgeted 0, spent 0 so far. The town garage, the budget is for the siding project. This was, remember, just as a reminder, this is based off of the capital needs assessment from 2018. This number might be a little bit out of touch given the current construction situation. We do not know, as we talked.
Inflation.
Yep, so as we talked about earlier, this project is in process, and hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll have some bids, and so we'll know what this number is. Historical Society, we have budgeted $0 thus far, we have spent $0. For the library, we have budgeted $162,124. Because of several invoices on the warrant this evening, I don't have any expenses in there because we have not actually spent those funds as of yet.
So in summary, what we had asked Peter to do is to make this more clear about what we had budgeted and what we spent and what we have left. And I think that this achieves that purpose. And
It's excellent.
I hope that you will agree.
I do have one question, please.
Yes, please.
I just want thank you. This is very helpful. I just want to make clarification that there wasn't an intention on the part of the select board, or was there, to spend at the library $300,000 over 2 years. Is part of the reason that the second year is $162,000 is because we just didn't spend that much in the previous year?
Nope, so the intention was to spend $300,000 on the renovation project.
I see.
The reason that it's for
It's an
FY22.
addition.
The additional for the building. Thank you for clarification, Richard. So the reason that is slightly increased for FY22 is because per the capital needs assessment that was completed in 2018, there is some repair work that is technically needed on the library that was scheduled to be done for this year, which needs to be done regardless of the status of the addition project.
So if the addition is finished in this year, or the expenses are accounted toward it, we will see essentially $150,000 loss in this year?
No, we just haven't, the select board hasn't really decided yet about carrying forward funding allocations. So at the moment,
right.
I have.
Thank you.
Yep, so at the moment, I have not carried those expenses forward. There's an argument for leaving it the way it is, and there's also an argument for moving it forward. Neither one is explicitly right, and neither one is explicitly wrong.
But we should put that on the agenda to make a decision about that in a coming meeting.
Okay.
All right, because the addition project has really been much more expanded. In terms of time, it's taking much longer to get things, the architects and the drawings and so forth and so on. So that's partly why the money didn't get expended in FY 2021.
So when it is expended in 2021, as it stands right now, Peter, you would put the expenses, even though they incurred in this year, you would put the expenses against the 2021 figure to show.
I would likely, most likely, I would actually roll the $150,000 forward, so then we would actually have the $312,124 for the current fiscal year.
Okay.
I think would be better because it's not good accounting practices to incur an expense in one year but actually show it in the previous. The auditor and the government isn't really keen
So
on
we
that.
need to put that on the, because the select board has to agree that we'd like to do that, to roll it forward,
Yep.
right? So let's put that on the agenda.
For a future agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Zom.
Anything else
Thank
with this review, or
No,
can
but
I stop?
it's certainly much more, a document with much more clarity.
And I will continue to update this page of the entire document as time goes forward.
Right. Thank you, Peter. Okay, on to the warrants.
Okay, I move we pay the following warrants. Payroll week 8/29/21, for the sum of $6,162.69. Payroll for the week 9/5/21 for the sum of $5,977.78. Payroll week 9/12/21 for the sum of $5,918.48. Expense warrant number 2206 for the sum of $39,130.47 for a total of $57,189.42.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Miranda.
Zahn is raising his hand.
Zahn, okay, Zahn, second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, the discussion is that highway needs rocks, gravel, accounted for quite a bit of that, and there were also two, bills for the Guilford Free Library expansion. Those seemed like the main things.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Richard? Aye. All right, thank you very much. All right, on to the health order. Because we want to move along.
So our health officer, Richard Davis, needs to file a notice of intent per state health law. The select board needs to approve his posting of this notice of intent so he can take the next further steps, which would be to serve this notice of intent to the property owner.
So we need a motion.
We need a motion to approve the notice of intent.
Do I have a motion to approve the notice of intent?
Miranda has her hand up.
Miranda?
Aye.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rusty. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Richard, aye. That, we let Richard
Thank
Davis know that right away. Then on to...
No, we have Ruck Up.
Yeah,
tonight.
Ruck Up B. I was just turning my page.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So every year for the past 6 or 7 years, the nonprofit organization Ruck Up, which serves the needs of U.S. military veterans, and they serve over 25 people in Guilford at the moment, have an annual fundraiser called their Boot Drop, in which they stand at the intersection of Guilford Center Road and Route 5 in the right-of-way to request donations. So they had approached us wondering if they could do their Ruck Up on October the 2nd with a rain date of October the 3rd. I have been in communication with the church just to make sure that Ruck Up is not in conflict with the church's annual pie sale, which happens at the same intersection. It does not conflict, and so the church is happy to see them doing the Ruck Up, doing their work, and so Ruck Up needs a formal motion and a formal letter on town letterhead, which we've done in the past for their insurance company authorizing them to do this.
So the motion would be, I'll make the motion that we approve Ruck Up's boot drop and a letter to be sent to their insurance company. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Michael. Is there any discussion? Okay, I'll take the roll. Rusty?
Aye.
Zahn?
Aye.
Michael?
Aye.
Miranda?
Aye.
Richard? All right, that motion carries. Communications.
We have none.
Excellent. Actions from the previous meeting.
The select board moved to require masks in all town buildings by both the public and employees. You set a schedule for annual commission reports. You requested for the Charter for Compassion to be added to the upcoming meeting agenda so folks can have time to inform themselves about it, and requested the Planning Commission to give a report at the next select board meeting, and we have now confirmed that they will be coming to the September 27th select board meeting to give an update.
Thank you.
Due to the length of this meeting and the vigorous discussion, I have not recorded all of the actions, and once we get the video back from our friends over at BCTV, I will share those with the select board.
Very good, thank you. Do I have a motion? Yes, on. What could it be?
I would like to propose that I move that we actually adjourn this meeting.
Oh, do I have a second for that? Miranda, is there any discussion? Okay, Rusty,
Aye.
Zon,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Miranda,
Aye.
Richard, aye. Thank you very much. It was a long meeting, but we got a lot accomplished, and particularly for our community in regard to the largesse of the federal government and the relief from COVID impact. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everybody.
Good evening, everyone.
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.